In this next motion simulation example, we'll see how parts can actually push others around, creating a very realistic simulation. The goals are to create a simulation that this crank arm actually rotates and pushes the small pin, which in turn pushes all of these parts so they all work together. The command that we're going to be using here is ContactFace, and it doesn't allow interferences. It actually allows contact and pushes things around. So we'll begin by locking everything down. Standard fixed joint on the large component and the small pin, and then some slider component joints to allow the parts to slide back and forth along one another. And one more slider joint on the small blue part, and that's going to allow the mechanism to act very freely as it's sliding back and forth. And last but not least, we need a rotational joint to go around this sort of pin. And we'll just simply make this go around the axis, and the default point will be automatically picked for us. Now that that's complete, we don't have any contact faces yet. Let's check our progress. So we're going to go to our display color, and we can quickly verify that we have all of our rigid groups created for us. Now remember, the joint command automatically will create the rigid groups for us. In a few demonstrations, we'll see how to create rigid groups manually. But for now, this automated approach works great on small assemblies. Now let's go ahead and add some position motors. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this rotational motor and we're going to simply rotate it 90 degrees. We'll insert another event and go back 90 degrees. Insert another event, have it return back to where it was. And then one more, sort of panning this thing back and forth. We enter a minus 90 here. Once complete, we hit the play. We see how the crank arm goes back and forth. Now to change direction, it's just a simple matter of going to our revolute joint and reversing the direction. And that will get the crank arm to go in the opposite direction for us. Alright, now let's add the contact face operations. So the inputs are fairly simple. Just click the command, and we want to add a contact face to this interface, and we'll apply that. We'll add some contact faces to these small little tabs here. I'm going to pick a couple extra just to make sure that we get a good contact sort of surface area. And then one last contact face between these green faces on the very back of the model, the front of the model, and this small pin. And last but not least, we'll get these small inside faces of this crank mechanism. Alright, if you're wondering why I just don't pick the entire part, it's a performance thing. The contact face does require a small amount of calculation overhead, but as you can see with our fast solver, things happen in real time. And this is a pretty realistic assembly that we have here using contact faces. Normally what would happen is one face would bump into another and occupy the same space, creating an interference, which we can detect, but this particular contact face gives us a very realistic motion, all within inside of Animation Designer.